I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Sunny Hostin is well known for being a strong advocate for accountability and fairness, particularly when it comes to the systemic oppression that marginalized groups have faced throughout history. Whether it be in regard to racial injustice or the lasting effects of slavery, Hostin has always been a strong voice in favor of facing the past. Her public persona is built on her commitment to ensuring that historical wrongs are acknowledged, addressed, and corrected. However, something truly shocking happened when the topic of her own family's past was brought up.
But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I have been told that they were printers and journalists, but they were in fact enslavers.
Hostin seemed to minimize the significance of her family's involvement in slavery with sudden tragedy. When it was revealed that Hostin's own ancestors had taken part in the slave system, people reacted swiftly. Instead of showing that she had given the implications of this part of her history careful attention, Hostin chose to ignore it as a fact of life. She didn't carefully acknowledge or recognize the complexities of her family's role in a system that enslaved millions of Black people. Numerous opponents believed that this approach did not align with the accountability that Hostin often demands of others. It became clear that while she frequently exhorts individuals and institutions to confront their past, she was unable to examine her own family's history with the same level of scrutiny. Greg Gutfeld, a well-known conservative commentator, was keen to draw attention to this discrepancy, believing it to be a glaring contradiction. The change in tone was intriguing. Gutfeld said that Hostin's reaction to her family's history was a prime example of the dangers of identity politics. He argued that people like Hostin are eager to point the finger at others, but hesitant to accept accountability for their own deeds when blame is shifted to them. According to Gutfeld, the case was ironic not only because Hostin's ancestors were part of an oppressive system, but also because she failed to consider the disturbing facts of her own family's actions. Instead, she seemed to downplay its significance, highlighting the conflict between her moral superiority and her own family's history. These remarks resonated with many individuals, particularly those who criticize well-known figures who portray themselves as moral role models, yet falter when confronted with difficult truths about their own histories. The lesson from this episode was that while it is easy to hold others accountable, it is much harder to do the same when one's own or loved one's actions are the focus. This situation highlighted the complexity of human nature and the challenge of striking a balance between personal history and societal objectives. There was an immediate and harsh reaction on social media. The number of memes mocking Hostin's comments quickly increased, particularly on Twitter and TikTok. Reparations was a humorous question posed in one very well-liked post. "I'll write that check to myself now." While some supported Hostin, arguing she shouldn't be held responsible for the actions of her ancestors, many others pointed out what they saw as hypocrisy. Critics highlighted that while Hostin frequently urges people to face past wrongs, she downplayed her own family's involvement in slavery as a natural part of life. They felt this contradiction suggested that her stance was self-serving and morally questionable. This sparked a broader conversation about accountability, particularly regarding public figures. Should individuals like Hostin, who publicly advocate for accountability and social justice, be held to the same moral standards as others? Many critics argued that Hostin's disregard for her family's past revealed a lack of self-awareness and maturity. Her failure to take her own history seriously left a bad taste in the minds of those who believe that true justice requires deep introspection and honesty, particularly from those in positions of power or influence. Hostin's response to her family's involvement in slavery did not demonstrate the growth and self-reflection expected of prominent leaders. Rather, it reinforced the notion that some people are more than willing to blame others, but incapable of holding themselves to the same standard. This recurring issue eventually found its way into the program that Hostin frequently co-hosts. The uncomfortable reality of Hostin's own family history quickly replaced discussions of racial injustice and other social issues. The mood of the Presentation was tense as the panel, which is often known for its candid conversations and contentious arguments, fell into an unusual silence. Not even Whoopi Goldberg, who usually interjects with witty remarks, seemed to know how to react. The topic suddenly turned inward, forcing the speakers and the audience to confront the difficult reality that private and public history can intersect in unflattering ways. Hostin's failure to appropriately address this personal controversy led to further accusations of hypocrisy. Her detractors argued that this was an opportunity for her to show true self-reflection and growth, acknowledge the challenging and complex history of her ancestors, and continue advocating for justice. However, Hostin's response seemed to avoid rather than seize the opportunity, dismissing it as unworthy of deeper examination. This resulted in further calls for accountability, not just for historical figures or governmental organizations, but for individuals who claim to be at the forefront of the fight for justice. When Hostin's husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, became embroiled in a major legal battle, her life took an even more drastic turn. Respected Dr. Hostin was accused of participating in a massive insurance fraud scheme. He and his colleagues were charged with submitting fraudulent insurance claims, including for unnecessary medical procedures. The controversy is highly explosive, involving a network of over 180 defendants and the potential to significantly impact the healthcare industry. If these allegations prove true, Sunny and Dr. Hostin could face severe legal consequences. The situation becomes even more complicated with the possibility that Hostin knew of her husband's questionable actions. Public figures like Hostin, who frequently express their views on justice and accountability, are typically held to a higher standard. Her failure to acknowledge the potential role she may have played in her husband's alleged actions has further fueled public skepticism about her sincerity. Conservative commentators like Joe Rogan quickly pointed out this hypocrisy, noting that while Hostin had previously criticized others for their medical advice, she had not addressed the possibility that she might have been aware of her husband's alleged fraudulent activities. As the court battle around Dr. Hostin's case continues, more attention is being paid to Sunny's personal and professional life. The public is now confronted with the reality that even those who advocate for social fairness and accountability may themselves be inconsistent. Whether Hostin chooses to use this moment to address the controversy or remain silent will determine how her legacy is shaped moving forward. By juxtaposing the scandals of Hostin and Carrie Underwood, the broader facets of celebrity culture, hypocrisy, and cancel culture become evident. When Underwood, a wholesome country music icon, agreed to perform at a presidential inauguration, she became the target of cancel culture. Accused of endorsing a controversial figure, Underwood justified her decision as a patriotic gesture. Many praised her willingness to accept criticism, while others in the entertainment industry remained silent for fear of alienating sponsors or fans. Underwood's experience highlights the complexities of cancel culture, which often penalizes celebrities for perceived political affiliations, even when they are not actively involved in controversial causes. In contrast to Hostin's hesitation to confront the unpleasant truths about her family, Underwood's stance demonstrated a willingness to stand by her beliefs regardless of public opinion. These two high-profile cases raise difficult questions about accountability, authenticity, and the responsibilities of public figures. Celebrities like Hostin and Underwood must carefully balance their public personas with personal dilemmas. Whether dealing with legal issues involving loved ones or historical family involvement in slavery, their actions are scrutinized and their decisions leave a lasting impact on their legacy and public image. Ultimately, their ability to confront their own contradictions and uphold the values they promote will determine how they are perceived by the public. Prominent leaders must be prepared to analyze their own actions, both past and present, if they wish to maintain their legacy and reputation in a world where hypocrisy and cancel culture are increasingly questioned. How do you feel about this issue? Is it fair to expect well-known individuals to adhere to the same moral standards they advocate for others? So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.